Treasure had always been skeptical about love, but when she met Alex at a professional seminar in Lagos, something about his warmth and confidence caught her off guard. "Do you believe in love at first sight?" he asked with a smile that could melt ice. Alex invited Treasure to Abuja for the weekend, promising to show her the city. She hesitated at first but eventually agreed. "It's just a weekend," she told herself, not knowing this trip would mark the beginning of their whirlwind romance. From fine dining at upscale restaurants to boat rides on Joby Lake, Alex spared no expense to impress Treasure. For the first time in a long while, she felt like a queen. When Treasure returned to Lagos, the distance became their biggest challenge. They spoke on the phone every night, but it wasn't the same. "I miss you," Alex would say. "Don't worry, we'll close the gap soon." Treasure spent her savings on frequent trips to Abuja, hoping to keep their connection alive. Her friends warned her, "You're investing too much," but Treasure believed love required sacrifice. Alex promised to visit Lagos for her birthday, but he cancelled at the last minute, citing work commitments. Treasure celebrated alone, her disappointment deepened by his absence. To make up for missing her birthday, Alex sent Treasure an expensive handbag. But her happiness was short-lived when she noticed a card inside, addressed to another woman. When Treasure confronted Alex about the card, he laughed it off. "It was a mix-up from the store," he said. But his dismissive tone planted seeds of doubt in her heart. Treasure's suspicions grew when she saw Alex's social media tagged in photos with a woman named Kechi. "Who is she?" she demanded. Alex hesitated, and Treasure knew the truth before he even spoke. Treasure learned that Alex was engaged to Kechi, a prominent lawyer in Abuja. "I never meant to hurt you," Alex said, but his words felt hollow. Treasure was devastated. Treasure replayed their moments together in her mind, wondering how she missed the signs. Was any of it real? She asked herself, her heart heavy with betrayal. With a heavy heart, Treasure blocked Alex's number and deleted their photos. "I deserve better," she whispered, trying to convince herself. Treasure's friends rallied around her, taking her out to eat and helping her heal. "You're stronger than this," Ngozi said. Treasure nodded, though she didn't feel strong yet. As the weeks passed, Treasure began journaling her thoughts about love and self-worth. "I lost myself trying to be what he wanted," she wrote. "Never again." Treasure joined a fitness class, finding joy in taking care of her body and mind. Each step felt like a small victory on her path to healing. Months later, Alex sent Treasure a long email apologizing for his actions. But by then, Treasure had moved on. She read it, then hit delete without replying. Treasure began exploring new hobbies, from painting to volunteering at a local orphanage. These small joys reminded her that life could be beautiful even without a partner. One evening, Treasure burned the love letters Alex had sent her. "This is the end," she said, watching the flames consume the paper. Treasure began to see herself in a new light, not as someone who needed validation from others, but as a woman of value and strength. Treasure sat at her desk, planning her next adventure. The best is yet to come, she thought, as hope filled her heart. Treasure first met Ibrahim at her church. He wasn't flashy like the others she dated. Instead, he had an air of calm confidence. "You have a beautiful soul," he said after their first conversation. Ibrahim didn't rush things. Over the next few weeks, he would casually join her after church for lunch with her friends, always attentive but never pushy. Treasure found his quiet nature refreshing. When Ibrahim finally asked Treasure on a date, it was to a small art gallery in Ikoyi. "I thought you might like this," he said with a shy smile. Treasure was impressed by his thoughtfulness. Ibrahim insisted on dropping Treasure off at home after their date. "A lady like you deserves to be treated right," he said. Treasure couldn't help but feel hopeful about him. Treasure opened up to Ibrahim about her past heartbreaks. He listened without interruption, nodding thoughtfully. "You deserve so much better," he said, his voice soft and reassuring. Over time, Ibrahim began to offer small pieces of advice. "Maybe you should spend less time with Ngozi," he said one day. She doesn't seem to have your best interest at heart. Treasure didn't think much of it at first. Ibrahim asked Treasure for a small loan to fix his car. "I'll pay you back by next week," he promised. Treasure didn't hesitate, she wanted to support him. One favor turned into another, and soon, Ibrahim was asking Treasure for help with rent and other expenses. "Things are just tight right now," he said. Treasure believed him, wanting to be a good partner. Ibrahim subtly encouraged Treasure to spend less time with her friends and family. "They don't understand us," he said. Treasure, eager to keep the peace, began withdrawing from those closest to her. Ibrahim suggested they start a business together. "It will secure our future," he said. Treasure hesitated but eventually agreed, investing her savings into the venture. As months passed, Treasure noticed Ibrahim becoming less attentive. He stopped returning her calls promptly and avoided conversations about their business. Her concerns grew. One day, Ibrahim stopped answering Treasure's calls altogether. She went to his apartment, only to find it empty. He had disappeared, taking their business funds with him. Treasure felt a deep sense of shame and heartbreak. How could I have been so blind? She asked herself, tears streaming down her face. Treasure discovered through mutual acquaintances that Ibrahim had done this before to other women. She realized she had been another victim of his manipulation. Despite the betrayal, Treasure vowed not to let Ibrahim's actions define her. She started working extra hours to recover her lost savings and focused on rebuilding her life. Treasure reached out to the friends and family she had distanced herself from. "I need you," she admitted, and they welcomed her back with open arms. Treasure decided to forgive Ibrahim, not for his sake, but for hers. "I won't let bitterness hold me back," she said, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. Treasure reflected on her journey, realizing she had ignored red flags in her desire for love. "I'll never lose myself for someone else again," she promised. Treasure started a personal finance blog, sharing her story and helping others avoid the mistakes she had made. It became her way of turning pain into purpose. Though the scars of betrayal remained, Treasure felt hopeful about her future. "I am enough," she reminded herself, embracing the journey ahead. Treasure met Kingsley at a high-end restaurant in Victoria Island. His entrance was grand, his designer suit, gold watch, and confident smile caught everyone's attention. He introduced himself, and Treasure was captivated by his charm. From the very beginning, Kingsley was relentless in his pursuit. "A woman like you deserves to be treated like a queen," he said, sending her flowers to her workplace and taking her to the finest restaurants. Kingsley surprised Treasure with a weekend trip to Abuja. They stayed in a luxurious hotel, dined in exclusive restaurants, and attended an elite gala where Kingsley introduced her as the woman I've been searching for. During dinner one evening, Kingsley's tone changed. "I don't like the way that waiter looked at you," he said sharply. Treasure laughed it off, but the tension in his voice lingered. Kingsley promised Treasure the world. "I'll buy you a house in Banana Island," he said. Treasure was dazzled but wondered why such a perfect man was still single. Kingsley began to criticize Treasure's choices. "Why wear that dress when I can buy you something better?" he asked one day. At first, it seemed thoughtful, but soon Treasure felt she couldn't make decisions without his approval. At a friend's party, Kingsley kept pulling Treasure aside. "You're talking to him too much," he said, referring to an old classmate she had greeted. Treasure began to feel stifled. Kingsley gifted Treasure a sleek, brand-new car. "Only the best for my queen," he said. But the gesture came with strings attached. "Now you don't need to hang out with your friends so much." At a charity gala, Kingsley accused Treasure of disrespecting him when she laughed at another man's joke. He stormed out, leaving her humiliated in front of everyone. Kingsley showed up at Treasure's apartment the next day with a diamond necklace and a heartfelt apology. "I just love you so much it scares me," he said. Treasure forgave him, but her doubts grew. Over time, Kingsley insisted that Treasure cut off ties with certain friends. "They're jealous of us," he said. Treasure felt increasingly isolated, unsure if she was doing the right thing. Kingsley asked Treasure to invest in a business deal. It's a guaranteed win, he said. Reluctantly, Treasure transferred her savings, trusting his promise of repayment. Treasure overheard a conversation between Kingsley and his friend, where he referred to her as another one of my investments. Her heart sank as the truth began to unravel. Treasure confronted Kingsley about his words. "You're overreacting," he said dismissively. But when she demanded her money back, his calm mask slipped, and he lashed out angrily. Treasure walked away, leaving behind the car, the necklace, and every trace of Kingsley's control. "I'd rather start over than stay trapped," she said. Treasure returned to her old life, reconnecting with friends and family. "I lost myself for a while, but I'm back," she said, feeling stronger than ever. Treasure reflected on how easily she had been dazzled by Kingsley's wealth. "I know my worth now," she told herself, vowing never to let anyone define her value again. With her confidence restored, Treasure focused on her goals. She started attending networking events and explored career opportunities she had once ignored. Treasure began mentoring young women, sharing her story to inspire them to prioritize self-respect and independence. "Your value isn't tied to anyone else," she told them. Though the memories of Kingsley's deception lingered, Treasure walked forward with her head held high. "Every setback is a setup for a comeback," she reminded herself.